On a warm evening in the summer of 2016, the lights inside Wembley Arena dimmed, and a low hum of anticipation rippled through the crowd. Thousands of people rose to their feet as a woman in a radiant crimson gown stepped into the spotlight. She did not sing. She did not campaign for office. She did not perform magic. Yet the roar that followed rivaled that of any global superstar. Her name echoed through the arena like a chant. Ruja. Dr. Ruja Ignatova stood confidently at center stage, smiling as if she already owned the future. She spoke with certainty, with elegance, with the calm authority of someone who claimed to have solved one of the greatest problems of modern finance. According to her, she had created something that would change the world forever. A digital currency faster than Bitcoin, bigger than Bitcoin, smarter than Bitcoin. A financial system that would lift ordinary people into wealth and free them from banks, governments, and borders. They believed her, from crowded cities in Europe to rural towns in Africa. From factory workers to professionals, people emptied their savings accounts and handed over their trust. Some sold homes, others borrowed from relatives. Many invested everything they had. By the time the dust settled, more than $4 billion had flowed into Ruja's empire. But beneath the applause, beneath the glamour, beneath the polished speeches and luxury lifestyles, there was a terrifying truth. There was no technology. There was no blockchain. There was no revolution. And then, one day, she disappeared. To understand how one woman pulled off one of the largest financial deceptions in history, you have to return to the beginning, back to a moment when the world was desperate to believe. In the early 2010s, Bitcoin was no longer a fringe experiment. Stories flooded the internet of young investors, turning small bets into unimaginable fortunes. Digital money had gone mainstream. And with it came fear of being left behind. The fear had a name, the fear of missing out. But cryptocurrencies were complicated. Wallets, private keys, mining, decentralized networks. These concepts felt intimidating to people who had never written a line of code. The crypto world seemed dominated by anonymous programmers in hooded sweatshirts. It didn't feel accessible. That's where Ruja Ignatova entered the picture. She was everything Bitcoin wasn't. Educated, articulate, polished. She held a doctorate in law from one of the most prestigious universities in the world. She had worked at elite consulting firms, advising major financial institutions. She dressed in tailored suits and spoke in measured, confident tones. When she walked into a room, people listened. She understood something crucial. People didn't want to understand technology. They wanted to trust someone who claimed to understand it for them. Together with a charismatic marketer named Sebastian Greenwood, she launched a project called OneCoin. It was presented as a digital currency designed for everyone, not just tech experts. Investors were told they didn't need to worry about complex systems. The company would handle everything. All they had to do was buy in. Instead of trading openly like Bitcoin, OneCoin operated through packages. Buy a package, receive tokens, recruit others, earn commissions, encourage them to recruit more. And the rewards multiplied. The structure spread rapidly, passing through families, workplaces, and entire communities. It didn't feel like investing, it felt like joining a movement. Money flooded in at a staggering pace. As the numbers grew, so did Ruja's public image. She appeared on magazine covers. She hosted extravagant events. She bought luxury properties and traveled the world surrounded by security and assistance. To her followers, she was proof that OneCoin was real. After all, who could fake success on such a scale? But behind closed doors, cracks were forming. In the technology world, whispers began to circulate. Developers and crypto experts asked basic questions that had no clear answers. Where was the source code? Where was the public ledger? How were transactions verified? Ruja always had a response. She claimed the system was private for security reasons. She insisted that openness would expose users to hackers. To believers, it sounded reasonable. To experts, it sounded dangerous. By the time doubts became louder, OneCoin was already too big to ignore. Eventually, the company made a quiet but critical decision. They hired a respected blockchain developer named Bjorn Bjerke, offering him an extraordinary compensation package. His task seemed straightforward: help improve the OneCoin system. But during early discussions, Bjorn realized something was terribly wrong. The platform had millions of users. Coins had been sold for years. Yet, when he asked about the underlying blockchain infrastructure, the answer stunned him. There wasn't one. What OneCoin called a cryptocurrency was nothing more than a centralized database. No miners, no decentralized network, no independent verification. Transactions weren't recorded on a public ledger. They were manually controlled. The entire system depended on a single authority, Ruja. She could change balances at will. She could adjust prices with a keystroke. The exchange platform that showed live transactions was nothing but an illusion, a looping script designed to simulate activity. When Bjorn tested it himself, transferring coins between accounts, nothing appeared. The screen continued scrolling, unaffected by reality. It was theater. But the show had to continue. By this point, so many coins had been sold that the illusion of scarcity was breaking down. Instead of allowing the value to collapse, Ruja made a bold move. She announced a brand new blockchain. At a massive public event, she promised investors that their holdings would double overnight as a reward for loyalty. Cheers erupted. Account balances soared. People believed they had become rich. In truth, their money had been diluted into worthlessness. As the illusion grew larger, so did the risks. Governments and financial institutions began paying attention. Banks froze accounts, transfers were blocked. Regulators asked uncomfortable questions. The operation now faced a new problem: too much cash. To move it, Ruja relied on someone she trusted deeply, a wealthy financier who was also her romantic partner. While she dazzled audiences, he quietly built a maze of shell companies and offshore accounts, pushing hundreds of millions through opaque financial channels. But paranoia followed success. Unwilling to trust even those closest to her, Ruja secretly had his apartment monitored. She wanted to know if he was betraying her. What she discovered was far worse. Law enforcement had already found him. Facing the possibility of spending the rest of his life behind bars, he chose cooperation. Every conversation, every meeting, every intimate moment was recorded. The empire's secrets were slowly handed over to authorities. By late 2017, international agencies were preparing coordinated arrests. Charges were drafted. Warrants were imminent. Ruja knew the clock had run out. On an ordinary autumn morning, she made a quiet decision. Instead of a private jet, she boarded a commercial budget flight. No entourage. Minimal luggage. A short trip from Eastern Europe to Greece. She landed. She walked off the plane, she entered a car, and she vanished. Behind her, chaos followed. The company collapsed. Her brother was left to manage the wreckage, unaware that he was being positioned as the fall guy. He was arrested months later and eventually imprisoned. Still unable to answer the one question everyone asked: where was Ruja? Investigators raided offices. Servers were seized. Documents were recovered. But the money was gone. So was the woman who controlled it. As victims came to terms with the lost bankruptcies, broken families, even deaths, the world searched for answers. The mystery deepened when Ruja was placed on the FBI's most wanted list, the only woman among warlords and killers. Two theories remain. One suggests she is alive, transformed, protected by wealth and powerful allies. Plastic surgery, false identities, luxury hideouts. If rumors of hidden cryptocurrency holdings are true, she may still be among the richest fugitives in history. The other theory is darker. Investigative journalists uncovered evidence suggesting she knew too much about organized crime and financial laundering. According to leaked reports, she may have been murdered on a private vessel. Her body never recovered. Which version is true? No one knows. What remains is the lesson she left behind. A reminder that in the digital age, belief can be more powerful than truth, and charisma can be more dangerous than any weapon. Somewhere, she may still be watching. $4 billion? No trace. And a mystery the world may never solve.